In my last video, I left you with a simple little tree sketch, and that was a great way to just reset my mind, give myself a little break from color. And as we progress through April and lean into summer, things are getting real green out there. I'm actually finding it more and more difficult to avoid using these vibrant, almost lime greens and deep phthalo greens, especially when I'm doing a mossy rock wall like this. But in order to keep things a little more balanced, I'm paying close attention to what are the browns and grays and even reddish tones that I see. How can I balance out all of that vibrant green? Because when I'm staring at a painting that is like literally all green, it's quite distracting in itself. The green becomes the subject rather than what I'm painting. And that can be kind of a cool thing to play with. But I find that when I lean into the browns and the grays and let some of the vibrant greens pop against them, it leads to a much more pleasing result. And in reality, there's a lot of green light bouncing around, so it can almost look like there's a hint of green on everything. So we have to make the artistic choice to either lean it a different direction or remove it altogether and play with a different kind of bounced light. If you've been following along the pleinairpril series this month, you've probably seen how crazy our weather has been. But we are finally starting to get a couple days here and there that are a little warmer and even half sunny. So anytime that happens, I try to go out. And even if that means just doing a quick sketch from the car while I'm running errands, that's all that I need. Happy day 20, everyone. I'm out painting the red currant bush. Right now, I think it's in like peak bloom, and it looks so gorgeous when the sun pours through. So when it's backlit, it's like switching between super rainy and cloudy and super sunny. So I'm just gonna set my stuff up and wait for it to get sunny again. I hope it does. And then we can paint. But I'm gonna have to paint fast today. So this was a very humbling painting experience. What you're seeing now was meant to be my warm-up before I flipped the page and did like a full painting of this beautiful red currant bush. But as I mentioned, it was a bit stormy and I kept getting rained out. So I actually rage quit this painting session. And I decided if we get another sunny day, I'll come back and do something with it. But it also reminded me that these little daily sessions are not meant to be masterpieces. They're meant to be little learning tools along the way. Sometimes I get longer sessions and I make something I really love, and other days it's just about color notes. And I actually wanted to mention color notes specifically because I'm getting a lot of questions about that. So you can see I'm doing a little study of the bush itself, but I also have color swatches next to it. And those are used to test out different colors together to create different mixes and see which one works for my subject or different parts of the subject. So after I do those, I write little notes about what I use to create that effect. And then later on, I can use that in a real painting. Day 21, I'm back outside trying again. We have much better chances today. There's some stormy looking clouds, but they're far and few between. So I'm actually sitting in the same spot, looking at the same flowery bush. The lighting is different today, so my color notes won't be perfectly helpful, but I'll make a couple more swatches and just paint what I see, hopefully. I started with a tiny little value sketch just to figure out where my darkest darks will need to be and kind of give myself a game plan for my composition. I knew I wanted to highlight this beautiful red currant somewhere on the left side of the painting, but also give a little peek back into the garden and the mountain beyond because I just loved all of those colors combined. And it was a bit of a challenge, or actually, it was a huge challenge because the lighting kept changing so much. Every time the sun went behind a cloud, all of my shadows and my highlights changed. I mean, you know how it goes. This is why plein air is such a challenge. So I actually focused on using really quick, bold brush strokes. I was a little bit scratchy with the marks. I wasn't like focused on making anything too clear or crisp. And it actually ended up giving it a really interesting fuzzy effect in the background, which I'll show you towards the end of this painting. And then when it came to color, I knew I wanted to highlight lots of those beautiful greens, but also when I added the reds and pinks for the actual red currant bush, that's when the greens really started to pop. And at that point, it was kind of too late to redo any of my other greens. But the problem was that my red and the pink was making the green too green. So like the saturation is amplified when you put complementary colors next to each other. And then that was giving the overall feeling of just like a way too saturated painting. In addition to that, I realized I was making my brush strokes way too small on the actual bush, and it was too many tiny marks, and everything was looking way too busy. So I kind of stepped back and squinted my eyes and held my brush at a distance and used huge marks. Well, I used much bigger marks than I was doing before, kind of clustering a lot of the pink and green and reds on the bush together. And that really helped it read a little bit better. I did have lots of little marks still, but it just gave it took away a little bit of the busyness in the bush. But wow, this is definitely something I'm going to have to come back and revisit in the future. Huge challenge, but so much fun, and it was so beautiful out there. Hello everyone. I'm finally out of the house. I've packed very light because I can't really carry much at the moment. My back and my hip are still not happy. But I'm able to do a little bit more each day, so I am like definitely trying to take advantage of days where we have good weather. It's kind of like off and on cloudy, overcast today. So I thought I need a change of scenery. So I am taking you somewhere really beautiful. As many of you know, we recently moved over kind of towards Inverness. So we're really close to Loch Ness and the nearby mountains. There's all sorts of beautiful little lochs and rivers, and having a bit of water nearby, even if it's not the coast, is a wonderful way to change my perspective. I live in the woods now, so it's a very different lifestyle than I was before, where I lived like 10 minutes from the coast. So let's go find a little spot to sit and we'll do some painting. Oh yeah, and guess what happened? The other day I dropped my portable painter on the ground and another piece broke. This poor little palette, it's lasted me 6 years. But as some of you know, I'm a brand ambassador for Portable Painter, and they are thankfully going to send me a new one, and I will take very good care of it. And happy Earth Day. Did you know that pleinairpril began as a way to get artists to get out in nature and celebrate Earth Day? And obviously there's tons of benefits from painting from life, being outside, plein air. Artists really benefit from that. I don't usually really do anything specific for Earth Day because I tend to celebrate nature every day, but I do recognize that not everyone does that. So having a day to officially say, yay, go Earth is kind of nice. Anyways, in regards to this painting, since I was painting something that was so far away from me, I knew I needed to kind of cluster or group a lot of things together and use bigger shapes. So when I look at the side of that mountain and I see all those trees, I look at the shape of where the sun is hitting them and where the shadows fall, and I group each of those areas together. It's kind of a fun way to stylize the shapes of a painting. You can be a little more exaggerated if you want to. There was also a lot of brown in the trees still because not everything is blooming yet. So I had to make sure to capture that. And I played a little bit with the movement of the water. So I used a lot of dry brush and horizontal streaks. But mostly I just wanted to take these little color notes. And as I was painting this, I thought it would be really fun to come back and sit in the same spot and paint the view when everything is blooming because it's going to be really green. And then I could do the same thing in winter. Seeing all those paintings together would be kind of cool. What a glorious day. Oh my goodness. I'm out in a t-shirt. So I could literally paint anything today because it's beautiful and there's barely any wind. There's no clouds in sight. And I am painting a fallen tree in the woods. Y'all know I can't resist a fallen tree. So I've already done the background. I'm just waiting for that to dry because I wanted it to be really dark and wet and bleeding and everything. So it's just taking forever to dry. But let me show you the tree. I love the shadows falling on it. I love the colors. It's just gorgeous. I see it every day I look out the back window. Plus the leaves on almost every tree are coming out and it looks so much greener all of a sudden. I was slightly distracted by Wolfie doing some gardening, and our neighbor came over to help because he has a riding mower, which is amazing for a big garden. Anyways, I had to kind of stop and start a lot, but I think that actually helped me in the end because I was able to approach the brush strokes and seeing the color in a fresh way every time I picked up the brush. It's like surprising how quickly I noticed little mistakes or adjustments that I needed to make. It was almost like I mentally separated from the subject and then got reacquainted with it each time. I was really just focusing on capturing the impression of the light on the branch, especially the mosses. And I exaggerated some of the pops of color just for fun because I was just loving the sunshine and the way it made the moss glow. I was also using very, very sticky gouache, so I was able to get lots of interesting dry brush textures. For day 24, I was actually recording my tutorial for Patreon this month, and I had a whole setup outside with my nice camera and everything, and didn't really have time to hand hold my camera and film the process. But for all of my patrons, you can now go watch this tutorial. You just have to make sure you're in the video tier, and it's obviously got the full-length description and step-by-step process, everything narrated for you. Good morning, everyone. I am going to paint the daffodils. I promised myself this year that I would try to paint flowers a little bit more because they're so incredibly challenging, and I find yellow to be especially tricky. There's a lot of green going on in there as well. It's really cold today though. I had to bundle up a little bit, but hopefully the sun will come out and burn off the fog and the chill in the air. I also wanted to mention that New Wave sent me the new metal side trays for my 6x8 Yugo pochade box, and I absolutely love them. They are way more stable and like robust than the wooden ones. Even though the wooden ones are so pretty, these just feel really good, really solid. They did also send me the replacement portable painter, but I haven't had time to refill it yet, and I'm just kind of jumping straight into painting each day, and I don't want to wait for the gouache to dry inside the palette, so I'll wait till after pleinairpril is done to refill that. So today we're using tube paints. Oh my goodness. Every time I switch back to using liquid gouache, I am reminded how luxurious it is. As much as I love using dried gouache in my palette, it's so convenient. There's just something wonderful about thick, luscious brush strokes. And I think it especially played to my advantage for doing florals because I needed to layer a lot of opaque white and lighter colors on top of the dark colors. And that's really challenging, if not almost impossible, with dried gouache. You can do it to an extent, but with the amount that I needed for this subject, it just worked way better to use liquid gouache. I was also really glad that it was overcast because that made the light very consistent throughout the session. Usually I have sun coming through the clouds and it changes every 5 or 10 minutes, and that really affects the white of the petals. So today was the perfect day to tackle this subject again. And I approached it with a very free mindset. I wasn't getting bogged down in any details. I was just trying to capture the impression of light on the petals especially. And there is a surprising amount of green in the white petals, probably because of all the bounced light. I'm definitely going to paint more flowers this year because I find it such an incredible way to study color and light, and they're just pretty. I think this is going to be one of my prints for my Patreon postcard tier, and I'm really excited to send it out. All right, since it's Saturday, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I hope you enjoyed looking back at this week with me, and I will see you again next weekend for our final week of pleinairpril. After which I will probably do a, lessons learned video, kind of digest a lot of my thoughts and think about what I learned the most and, just share some after thoughts with you. Anyways, if you enjoyed this week, give it a thumbs up, maybe leave a comment and tell me what your favorite painting was, and I will see you again soon. All right, bye-bye.